Joining us now for more on what this could mean for both candidates, Lanhee Chen is a fellow at Stanford's Hoover Institution, and Marc Morial is National Urban League CEO and the former mayor of New Orleans. It's great to have you both here.
Thank you.
Mayor Morial, over to you. But how significant is this? I almost wonder if it's just not too little too late, but do you think it's impactful?
Well, look, here's the thing. Of course, people will try to spin it. But, Kelly, as I say all the time, 1 month of the jobs report doesn't tell the story. The more important comparison now is the Biden-Harris job creation number of 16 million over their 3.5 years in office versus the negative loss on Trump's 4 years of 2.7 million jobs. I think is material. And I think it's also material. And I wanted to check this, double check it and triple check it. And that is that 6 of the 7 highest growth and best economy presidents have been Democrats. And so I think what people should do is not look at 1 month, but look at the totality of the record when it comes to job creation. And now they can compare Biden-Harris to Trump's 4 years, and they can compare the Harris plan, which I think is about building a stronger middle and working class, versus the Trump approach, which is more of the same top-down economics, which never, ever yields the type of growth and job market we want.
Lanhee, this should be a celebratory moment for the current administration, were it not for inflation, as we read that, people are still trading down to chicken as beef is getting too expensive and inflation expectations remain stubbornly high. That's one of the top concerns on the campaign trail still.
Yeah, no question, Kelly. Look, this is really about how people feel about the economy. And it's very, very difficult to tell people to feel differently. And the reality is that for many Americans, this economy is still not performing where they want it to. And it is fundamentally about cost of living issues. It is fundamentally about too many Americans working multiple jobs to make ends meet. And I think that's the reason why, when you look at survey research, one thing that is abundantly clear is that voters do tend to trust Donald Trump more on economic issues. Now, whether that's a fair assessment or not, that is where voters are. So this jobs report today reinforces a point of view about who is better equipped to handle the economy. And it is the case, I think, that for most voters, this is already baked in the cake. Their views of the economy, their views of who's doing a better job, their views of who's got stronger economic policies, those are largely baked. I think the question now is for that small sliver of undecided voters in places like Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and Michigan, where candidates are spending a lot of time this weekend. Does this last jobs report sort of put the icing on the cake in terms of their view of who they're going to vote for? And we're not going to know the answer to that till Election Day. But we are talking about, Kelly, an exceedingly low number of voters who haven't made up their minds yet.
Mr. Mayor, how would you respond to that or counter that?
Yeah, the way I would respond is I acknowledge that this economy can get better. But Donald Trump left behind a recession. He fiddled and faddled when the economy began to go south with COVID. Instead of responding immediately, he pretended it wasn't a problem. He told people to put bleach in their bodies. It's important to understand context. This has been the fastest response, the fastest post-economic downturn growth, the fastest recovery that we've had post a recession in modern American history. I think context is what's key. Not 1 month of numbers, not spin doctoring, but really looking at the totality of the record. Compare the Biden-Harris record and compare the Harris plan with both the Trump record and the Trump concept about the economy. And I think we're encouraging last-minute voters to make that intelligent comparison, step away and look at the facts, look at the data, and understand the economy can and will get better.